everyone, my name is Divya and I am a third-year graduate student here at Northwestern. I use MRI to understand changes in the structure of skeletal muscles. The movement of muscles is only one of the many functions of our body that our brain is responsible for. Our brains are split into several parts called lobes. These work together to make our brain and body capable of all the amazing things we do every day. Today I'm going to show you how to color in a picture of the brain, and along the way, learn about these different parts of the brain. All you need is something to paint or color with and the coloring sheet from our email. Let's get to it. Make sure you have the coloring sheet either printed out or on a tablet, and at least 7 different colors. Today I will be using watercolors, but you can use whatever tools you would like. The frontal lobe is just like it sounds. It is located at the very front of the brain. This part of our brains are responsible for problem solving, planning, and reasoning, as well as regulating our emotions. The back of the frontal lobe controls movement of our bodies. Finally, the frontal lobe also contains Broca's area, which is in charge of speech production. The frontal lobe is what allows us to move our bodies, speak clearly, and think through complicated problems. The parietal lobe is located behind the frontal lobe, at the top of the brain. This part of our brain allows us to feel sensory information, such as touch, temperature, pressure, and pain. This lobe is how we are able to tell if we are touching something really cold, like a can of soda, or really hot, like a mug of hot chocolate. It also helps us to know when something hurts so that we can move our bodies away from it. The temporal lobe is located under the frontal and parietal lobes, towards the bottom of our brain. This lobe is in charge of the main sensory function of hearing and auditory processes. It also contains Wernicke's area, which is what allows us to recognize and understand what we hear, like telling the difference between different words. Finally, the temporal lobe also contains the hippocampus, which is important for storing our memories. The occipital lobe is located in the very back of our brain. This is the part of the brain that is in charge of all visual processing. One part of the lobe receives visual information through the eyes and then sends it to the other regions of the lobe that interpret what we are seeing. The brainstem is located underneath the 4 lobes. This part of our brain is extremely important because it regulates all the important functions and processes in our brain that we don't necessarily think about but are critical in helping us survive. For example, the brainstem controls breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, alertness and sleeping, and involuntary movement and reflexes. The brainstem is also what relays nerve signals between the 4 lobes of the brain and the spinal cord. There are 3 parts to the brainstem: the midbrain, which isn't shown here, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. Each of these has a specific role to allow the brainstem to function properly. Finally, we have the cerebellum, which is located right next to the brainstem. This part receives information from our body, the spinal cord, and the rest of the brain, and then regulates voluntary movements and speech based on that. The cerebellum is only 10% of the total weight of the brain, but contains half of the brain's total neurons, so you could say it's a pretty important structure. And there you have it. Now you've illustrated and learned all about the brain. Now let's test your memory, which the hippocampus is in charge of. Can you go back and label each of the parts we learned about today? I hope you enjoyed learning all about the brain today. Now you can go show your family and friends the awesome picture you just made. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for information about study recruitment here at Northwestern. Bye!